What happens to a person after death? Is man still conscious after death? What did people who lost their eyes for a short period of time, or in other words, had a near-death experience, really experience? How is the decomposition process of a human body? Is there life after death, and what are the different views? I dedicated the topic of this video to the after-death experience. I will tell you about the experience of people who have experienced medical death and returned to their bodies. Some of the goals of making this video are to raise the level of awareness and get rid of fear. And life is in freedom. So stay with me until the end of this video to discuss these interesting and extremely important topics. Death is a reality that all humans will experience sooner or later. What will happen after death? Many people have talked about this, and those who have had near-death experiences and experienced death for a few moments have spoken about what they saw and experienced when they returned to their bodies. The experience that is much different is the things that are mentioned in religions. It is not easy for us humans to understand death, and we cannot easily understand people who have a near-death experience and experience the physical dimension. Research for people who have had near-death experiences shows that everyone has had different experiences based on their beliefs and beliefs. People who had a near-death experience have seen and said about the presence of angels and luminous spiritual figures and deceased family members. Of course, all these people were people with religious beliefs. Based on their religious beliefs, everyone experienced different things after death and exiting the body, which means that the death experience of a Muslim person can be completely different from a Muslim person. For example, 60% of people who had a near-death experience saw a light that pulled them towards them. This light, which was accompanied by a strange heat, caused a person to feel weightless. They are still talking about a tunnel that they passed through unconsciously. Although everyone has had different experiences based on their beliefs, these experiences have common points. For example, a feeling of lightness and freedom. In many such experiences, a person talks about a certain freedom, a freedom that cannot be experienced in this body. Interestingly, all these people still had their consciousness after leaving their body and remembered everything. Here I will tell you two near-death experiences. The first experience is related to a woman who stopped a brain surgery at the age of 27 and was without a pulse for 20 minutes. He said he felt himself leave his body and move towards a lighted tunnel, at the end of which he met a being he recognized as God. God told her to examine her life and see what good and bad things she had done, and this 27-year-old woman saw her whole life in one moment and felt shame and guilt. God told him that he should return to life and be kind to himself and others. He said that after returning to his body, his life changed and he was grateful for the smallest things. A man who was seriously injured in a car accident at the age of 35 and lost consciousness for a while, and who felt that he was leaving his body and flying towards the sky, and in the sky, with his parents who had been together for several years. They had passed away. He met and they told him that they love him and pray for him. And after this meeting, he felt that he was returning to his body and heard the voices of the doctors. Do we meet our deceased loved ones after death? Near-death experiences can be scary. But one doctor who has studied people who have had near-death experiences for more than 50 years says that death can be a relaxing experience. Dr. Bruce Grayson has interviewed thousands of people who have had near-death experiences and believes he has found evidence to support seeing deceased loved ones after death. Some people who have near-death experiences talk about seeing their deceased loved ones, Dr. Grayson said. Now you can say it's a wish, but sometimes they see people from the past who weren't known to be dead yet, and it's kind of hard to explain. He added that when some people have a near-death experience, they often feel like they are leaving their body. They may encounter other beings who they think are deceased loved ones, or sometimes divine beings, and eventually they may review their lives and then either decide to return to life or be sent back against their will. These people may experience a feeling of leaving their body, so that some can see their physical body while floating above it. Dr. Grayson is not the only one who says that we will be reunited with our loved ones after death. Nursing home nurse Julie McFadden said that toward the end of your life, you're likely to see dead relatives, dead pets, angels and spirits. Through her experience as a nursing home nurse, she said that many patients find this visit comforting. Nurse Julie added that the closer you get to death, the less you fear it. He believes our body is made to die. It has mechanisms to know what to do at the end of life. All this helps us to die more peacefully. Death, corpse, and cemetery. With sand. After these words, unpleasant images will appear before your eyes. Corpses that have a foul smell and have been attacked by insects and scary skeletons that are sleeping in the dirt. These unpleasant images are a staple of many horror movies or even our nightmares. But there are many myths about the human body and its decomposition process, which are sometimes not true. But what happens to the human body until it is completely decomposed? Follow the strange and interesting facts about the decomposition of the human body after death. 1. The decomposition process starts almost immediately after death. About 4 minutes after we take our last breath, due to the lack of oxygen in the body, a series of events begin to occur on a microscopic scale. Carbon dioxide and acidity levels in the bloodstream rise, toxic wastes accumulate, and so on. The problem causes the cells to become toxic. One of the first visible signs of death is the clouding of the eyes because the corneas are no longer supplied with fluids and oxygen. This process can start 10 minutes after death. 2. The decomposition process has 5 stages. The first stage is called autolysis or cellular self-digestion. The cells disintegrate due to the activity of enzymes and the fluids inside them leak out. Blisters filled with fluids appear on the skin, as a result of which large layers are easily separated from the body. Meanwhile, anaerobic bacteria, which are organisms that are alive and active without oxygen, that live in the intestines, begin to break down the cells, and from here the second stage, bloating, begins. With the start of the activity of these microbes, gases accumulate inside the intestine and the volume of the surrounding tissues increases. These gases react with hemoglobin, which is a type of protein found in red blood cells, and produce a green substance inside the veins, and the skin first turns green and then black. The third stage is called active decomposition, as a result of which the tissues begin to regurgitate water and these fluids ooze out of the body cavities such as the mouth, nose, etc. Masses of body tissues are destroyed by the activity of flyworms and bacteria. The fourth stage, advanced decomposition, occurs when most of the soft tissues have been destroyed by the activity of insects, the remaining skin is dry and hardened, and the skeleton of the body has been revealed. When there is nothing left to feed the flyworms, it is time for other insects such as cockroaches. These insects are able to decompose soft tissues that are more rigid, such as tendons, ligaments, and even cartilage. The last stage is bone breakdown. Various factors lead to the breakdown or fragmentation of bones. For example, acidic soil destroys 70% of the materials that make up bones. Physical factors can also cause the decomposition of bones, such as the invasion of scavenging animals or gradual wear due to exposure to water. The duration of each of the above steps depends on factors such as temperature, burial conditions, and the presence of microbes, insects, and scavengers. Especially the temperature has a great effect on the active decomposition stage because flies lay eggs in hot months, so the decomposition process is slower at lower temperatures. During the first year, the bones gradually become discolored and moss may grow on their surface. Big gaps appear after about a decade. 3. Dead bodies are not that stinky. The common perception is that dead bodies always smell bad, but this is often not the case. In the inflation stage, foul-smelling gases are produced, but as the decomposition process continues, these odors decrease. The stench of a dead body in the summer dissipates after 10 days or less. A combination of gases causes the stench of corpses. With the decomposition of some amino acids by bacteria, toxic and harmful gases are produced that can be absorbed through the skin or take the place of oxygen. For this reason, this issue can endanger the health of those who deal with decomposing corpses in closed spaces. For bacteria can help determine the time of death more precisely. Forensic entomologists, a branch of criminology in forensic science, use insects to estimate time of death, but there are other possible biological clues. Forensic scientists are researching the effect of bacteria on the decomposition process. Some researchers are trying to find out if the microbiome changes in which species of bacteria and other microbes are present in each stage of the decomposition process by examining the microbiome, that is, the community of bacteria and fungi found inside a corpse. Does it help to estimate the time of death or not? Some of these microbes are from the microbial population living in the human body, and some of them are from the soil of the burial place of the corpse or are transferred to the corpse through flies, other insects and scavenging animals. 5. Without the presence of insects or bacteria, the decomposition process slows down. In 1977, in one of the cemeteries of the state of Tennessee, America, on the broken coffin of William Shea, a colonel who died in 1864, they found the headless body of a man wearing an official uniform. In his investigations, the forensic doctor noticed that the body was in the early stages of decomposition and the flesh was still pink, so the doctor first estimated the time of death to be at most 1 year ago. But the strange thing was that the corpse's clothes were out of fashion and his shoes were made of old materials. The head of the corpse was later found in the coffin and the effects of old dental methods were evident on its teeth. All these cases led the medical examiner to the conclusion that this body was the same deceased Colonel, William Shea. The grave of the thieves, his body. They had hurriedly and violently taken him out of his coffin. This 113-year-old corpse was well preserved because it was embalmed with chemicals and its cast iron coffin was completely closed. As a result, insects and microbes did not have a way to penetrate into the coffin and the process of decomposition remained in the early stages. 6. Environmental conditions can also affect the decomposition process. Some environmental conditions help preserve the body and create a natural mummy. In 1999, in the Andes Mountains of Argentina, the body of a teenage Inca girl was discovered as if she had fallen asleep. This girl had been left there for an offering to the gods and 500 years had passed since her death, but her hair, skin and clothes remained almost intact. The high altitude, low temperature and lack of oxygen had led to the preservation of his body. In another example, in 1991, a natural mummy of a man who died 5,300 years ago was discovered in one of the villages of the Alps and remained almost intact. Although the masses of ice had removed the water from his body, his skin, other tissues, organs and bones were well preserved. 7. Pathogenic viruses can survive the decomposition process. Many pathogenic viruses can survive even after human death. The Ebola virus can be spread even after the death of an infected person. This virus remains in the blood and other body fluids. Any contact with the split skin or mucous membrane, which covers the nose, mouth and other body cavities, of the corpse is sufficient to transmit the infection. For this reason, the World Health Organization recommends that corpses infected with this virus be buried quickly and safely in coffins, and that those who deal with these corpses use protective gloves. This virus can survive in the body of mammals for up to a week. Life after death or the next world exists in many cultures, religions and philosophies and is described in different ways. Some of these forms are spiritualism, belief in the existence of a soul or soul that separates from the body and goes to another world. For example, in Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism and Zoroastrianism. Reincarnation, belief that the soul or consciousness of a person enters another body after death and starts a new life. For example, in Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism and Sikhism. Resurrection, belief that a person's body will be regenerated and resurrected after death, on the Day of Judgment or a similar time, and will be accounted for by his actions in life. For example, in Islam, Christianity and Judaism. Annihilation, belief that a person will be completely destroyed after death and nothing will remain of him. For example, in materialism, atheism and some branches of Buddhism. These concepts may be combined or conflict with each other. For example, some Christians believe that a person's soul goes to heaven or hell after death, and on the Day of Judgment, his body will also be resurrected and join his soul. Do you know that after death, the wastes of the body will be eliminated by itself? In the next part, we will discuss these other interesting topics. Thank you for being with me so far. If you like this video so far, Please subscribe to the channel and write your opinion about death.